Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jennifer C. at HomeLifeCultureLink.com, Nino Simeka at MortgageGodfather.ca, and Jewelry Forever at JewelryForever.ca. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
But I never saw them or heard them ringing. No, I never heard them at all till there was you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Valentine's special edition, everybody. Yes, Valentine's Day. These hearts behind me just appeared. I didn't even do that. They just appeared there, floating in the air, as they're floating everywhere here on Valentine's Day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown. I'm your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown. I've got a nice frothy latte here. It's foamy. It's nice. And I'm joined by the greatest co-host in the galaxy, the one, the only,
Regine Alaina. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Scott, there's a lot of foam in your coffee.
That's how I like it. And you know what? I actually have I have additional foam standing by. So as I sip it down, I can just add more. It's,
See, you got me wanting a latte, so I got Starbucks and then poured it in a mug.
Well, that's good too. That's good too. Yeah, I do find one thing I didn't expect to enjoy so much when we got this little machine was how much I would enjoy just having the foam. Like the foam is just, it just makes it more fun to drink. It's just, it's just a good thing, Regine. Just a good thing. And hi, happy Valentine's Day, Regine. How are you?
Happy Valentine's Day, Scott. I'm good. I got my heart light up necklace and hearts in my bow because, you know, why not?
Looks
I like
fantastic.
your background.
Thank you. Yeah, they're
Thank you.
They're just floating hearts. I don't know where they came from. They just floated, and there they are floating.
Scott's in love. That's why they're floating behind you.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, also, you know what I want to say?
There you go.
I want to say a very happy birthday to my dad today. It's actually my dad's birthday. His birthday is Valentine's Day.
Happy birthday, Mr. Brown.
Exactly. So, happy birthday, Dad. I love you very much, and I'll give you a call later on today. But happy birthday, and happy Valentine's Day to my parents and to the world. To the world. Who we got in the chat? Let's say hi
to everybody.
Yeah, let's say hi to some people. Hey, Romina. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day, Tokyo
Happy
Gaming.
Valentine's Day, Mom.
There you go. Happy Valentine's Day, Tokyo Gaming. Good morning. Do you have stupid? Hey, hello. Good morning. Zero. Hi, Scott. I'm early today. Yes, you are, Zero. Hello. Welcome to the show. And Loki. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes. Happy Valentine's Day to you all.
Happy Valentine's Day. Scott, this is our third Valentine's Day special. Oh, I wasn't here last year, but it's our third Valentine's. My second, but the show's third.
Because we started in November, and then we had a Valentine's Day in February, and then this is our third?
And then one last year. Yeah, and then this year.
Wow. Oh, yeah, because we're now past the 2-year point, so we're into the third year. Of course. I don't know why I'm like, how? That's not possible. It's only been 2 years. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we made it, guys. We're here. Our third Valentine's special. Yay. And certainly sure to be the best one ever.
Yeah, because I'm actually here this time. I missed last year, but that's okay. Exactly. Your brother was a great fill-in, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my brother was there hosting on that Valentine's Day special. Okay. I don't remember these things. I don't remember.
How
anything.
romantic.
Oh, thank you, Zero, for the reminder. Yes, everybody, don't forget to hit that like button on the stream and subscribe here on the channel. We're on the road to 2,000 subs, guys. When we hit 2,000, 12-hour stream. You know what? It's going to be incredible. I'm going to be sleepy, but we'll see. Regine,
But you know what you should do during our 12-hour stream?
What?
You should watch our guests' videos all for 12 hours straight.
Like a
marathon.
A movie marathon. Well, that's right. We should meet our guest. Our guest today is a filmmaker, very talented guy. I met him at a film festival, a very epic film festival, actually, one by the name of Dragon Con, held in Atlanta, Georgia. Back in the days when we could see people in public. Back in those days.
I just met him 5 minutes ago.
That's right, you did. That's right. Well, what else should I say? Oh, he's based in Chicago, and he's just an all-around cool guy, and I wanted to have him on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm sit-down welcome to the one, the only Timothy Troy.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hello,
Glad to be
welcome.
here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Thank you, you too. I was gonna say Happy Galentine's Day, but I'm the only girl here, so.
Oh, why? What's
Happy
Galentine's
Galentine's Day too. It's like Single Awareness Day, but for gal pals.
Oh,
It's also Single Awareness Day as well. So I mean, happy Single Awareness Day, Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, happy Sunday, whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
I think
Actually,
we got it covered.
That's right. There's always every year there is that for people who you know are single. Sometimes Valentine's Day rolls around and it's not their favorite day. So you know what, guys, if you're one of those people, you know, it's just another day. Don't let it get you down. You know what I mean?
If you're one of those people, it's Scott's dad's birthday. So there you go.
Yeah, for everybody else, happy birthday to my dad. You can celebrate my dad's birthday. Exactly. Are you one? Yeah, there you go. Timothy, are you somebody to do something special on Valentine's Day? Do you guys do anything?
Well, I mean, this year nobody really does much of anything, but you know, you kind of stay in the house, right? We're going to stay in today. It's going to be a big change. We are not real big celebrators of Valentine's Day or Sweetest Day or any of those kind of things. My wife and I, the only thing we really celebrate at all is the anniversary of our first date.
Aww.
We kind of keep that special, and then we'll go out for dinner on our wedding anniversary. But that's the main thing we go for. So usually there's some kind of present we exchange every year, and that's about it. She gets a piece of jewelry, and I get some expensive whiskey, and we're both happy. So
nice.
Perfect.
Jewelry and whiskey. Call it a day.
That's good. Yeah, I do find. I mean, I don't know. Me and my girlfriend have been together a long time, and yeah, I do find those little sort of holiday type things. I mean, they get a little bit less extravagant. I don't know. It becomes more of a it's just kind of the way it goes. But
No.
yeah, I feel like a lot of it is, I don't know, especially Valentine's Day. It's a lot of marketing, right, to sell,
very much is. Yeah. That doesn't mean I didn't stop and get flowers yesterday and some chocolate too, but that's just because we like chocolate and flowers are pretty, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you could wait until tomorrow and the chocolate will be 50% off.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Didn't think of that.
That's what I wait for. That's what I love. The day after Valentine's Day. I like right after Easter because you can get those cream eggs for like 23 cents or something. Because they're trying to unload everything with like Easter bunnies on it. Love that.
Oh, and on Halloween, if you go to like a drugstore or Walmart or wherever that sells chocolates or candies, if you go a little bit later on in the evening, like right before closing, their staff is already pricing down their candy stock, so you can actually buy it.
There you go.
So you could probably buy it tonight if you really wanted to.
True.
See, I do that on Halloween, but I don't do it for the candy. I do it for the decorations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because the house is covered in Halloween decorations every year. So
yeah,
I pick up tombstones and and spiders and anything I can find that makes the house look creepy.
So are you into Halloween more than Valentine's Day? Is that what you're saying?
Halloween is by far my favorite holiday. By far.
Noted.
Decorations
Awesome.
wise, that's probably like for me, Christmas is still I like putting up the tree and all that stuff, but I definitely think, Halloween. It's funny because I don't think of Halloween that much, but then it's true when it rolls around, it's definitely the one that I pay the most attention to.
You do. I was gonna say, I swear every day for a week you dressed up, so you can't say.
That's true. Yeah, like on my channel for live streams, we did Spooky Week, so I had a different costume every single night, and I went pretty all out. You know what the other thing I find is good for it is like for filmmaking, like suddenly a lot of like cool effects stuff and things are suddenly in stores, so I start getting ideas. You know, oh cool. Like I remember I bought a wrench. It like looks like a real wrench. And like almost to like even in person looking at it, and then you pick it up and it's like plastic. I'm like, wow, this is pretty good, and I never would have even thought.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta write something with a wrench in it. So.
Is that how you get your inspiration, Timothy, for all of your films?
Occasionally, sometimes you find it. You pick them up wherever you can get it. But Halloween is definitely a time that my mind starts firing because you start watching a lot more movies. You start just thinking about what's spooky and what's scary, and it's just my favorite time of year. Yeah.
So what genre, speaking of your filmmaking, are your films more geared towards?
I'm kind of all over the place. I mainly stay to horror and sci-fi, but I've done, I like to filter that through other genres too. Like I've done a sci-fi drama, I've done a comedy set in the Civil War, believe it or not, and then sci-fi thriller and a couple of straight horror movies. So but there's always a little touch of humor or whimsy or something to it. The first movie I made, I thought, the one that Scott saw, called Ding Dong, when we were making it, I was like, this may be either hilarious and people will laugh at it, or people will be terrified by it, and either way I don't care, because the thing about horror is that it's very similar to comedy, I think. It's kind of set up and punchline, and then the difference is just whether you're laughing or screaming at the punchline.
That makes sense. Scott actually sent me a link to one of your videos that like past midnight. He's like, oh, if you want to watch it, but it's horror. I'm like, I'm about to go to bed. I am not watching a horror film right before I sleep.
Yeah, it occurred to me after. Yeah, because I was getting everything ready. I should have sent it to you days ago, but I
during the daytime.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh shoot. So that's why I sent it to you last night, and then I realized, oh wait. She's like, I'm not a big fan of horror. I'm like, oh, if you watch this right now, you might
then
not.
Don't watch it.
Yeah. So, so I will say though, Ding Dong, it is available for people to watch on YouTube. I put the link in the description down below, as well as your newer film, Abby, and then there's also a link to Hold My Horse as well. So all three of them are down there. You guys can all check them out down below. But yeah, we met at Dragon Con, which is. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but for me, that's been still my favorite film festival I've ever been to. It was so crazy and like I guess because it's not just a film festival, it's like an entire sci-fi fantasy like experience. It's like everywhere you walk around there's just, you see something new and awesome, costumes of cosplay or like robots or something.
Are there dragons everywhere?
There's dragons pretty common. I think the coolest thing I saw there was a conga line of, those inflatable T-Rexes?
Yeah.
There was a conga of, it had to be 30 of them going through.
That's amazing.
Dragon kind of set up so there are like, is it 4 or 5 or I don't know how many hotels it is that are all connected to do this convention. And so we were just going over the sky bridges between hotels. And
That's
one
awesome.
had a boombox and was making music, for them to dance to. It was absolute madness.
If you think about it, those inflatable T-Rex costumes, they're all prepared for what we're going through right now because they're all covered up.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's true.
They knew.
That's true.
Join the conga line, ladies and gents.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely high on my list of my favorite festivals. I've got my personal list, but for the ancillary stuff that's there, like it's not just a festival, and the festival itself is really well done. They have a great screening room. The crowds are always packing the screening room, which is great because sometimes you go to festivals and there's not that many people there, or they're not interested. They are interested. They're involved. Matthew Foster's the guy that runs it, and he does a really phenomenal job of getting that room filled up every time. They're turning people away for every screening.
Yeah.
And the selection of films is always really, really good. It's a great place to be. And then you go out, and it's DragonCon. There you can see celebrities. You can go see panels with discussions. You can go play games if you want. You can see all the costumes that people are dressed up in. You can buy anything you want that has ever been invented. I promise you. So if you're a nerd, DragonCon is the place to be.
It was amazing.
I've never been to a convention like that before. Like, I see pictures of like other conventions like Comic-Con and stuff like that, but I've never gone to. I've been to an auto show.
It's a similar concept, I think.
Yeah.
Just, take the cars out and put in Star Wars stuff.
There
Exactly.
you go.
Yeah, DragonCon was my first experience of anything like that as well, and it's so cool. Like, it's the thing that I really liked about it, and I haven't been to, like, Toronto. We have what is it called here? I can't remember what it's called, but there is a festival in Toronto.
Comic-Con?
Is it called Comic-Con, or is it called?
There's Comic-Con. There's Anime North.
So
There's
a few different ones, but I just remember.
Yeah.
I remember the thing that I really noticed about DragonCon is, so in Toronto, if you're like sort of driving around downtown, you might, see on a street corner, like, a couple people wearing anime costumes, right? And then you go, oh, what the heck are they doing? And then you go, oh, yeah, I forgot. There's a Comic-Con happening tonight or today or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing I noticed in Atlanta was it's like the whole city kind of gets behind it. So, like, even like the Hard Rock Cafe nearby, they've set themselves up as DragonCon theme, and so it's almost like that entire area of where the con is happening, like you were saying, it's over multiple hotels, and like the entire area, you can't escape it. You're in DragonCon, and like it's like they just take it to another level. I mean, it was I don't know, I loved it. And, yeah, have you
It's a really fun.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. I just sorry, there is a delay. We always mention that to people over Skype and online stuff. People, there's always like a delay, so we're not cutting each other off or anything. We're like, yeah, there's a delay.
Scott's not that mean.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
What was I gonna ask though? I was gonna say, oh yeah, so we met at that festival. Have you submitted or been involved with any kind of these online festivals that have sort of popped up now since all this started?
I haven't done. I haven't really submitted any festivals that were intentionally virtual. A couple of festivals I submitted. One film we made, I guess it's 2 years ago. We were shooting it now, but the festival circuit last year, a couple of those festivals ended up going virtual, and so that has been a different experience as well to kind of go through. It's not my favorite way to do things, but it's kind of a necessity of the world we're in now. The thing I like about festivals the most is meeting people. That's how we met.
Yeah.
You and me, Scott, and it's that interaction with people. It's the interaction with the audiences. I tell people a lot that one of my favorite memories is the first time I screened Ding Dong for an audience at all, and it was like for a charity thing that my friend was running, and she put the movie in there, and the crowd was not really like specifically a horror crowd, so they didn't really know what was coming. And there's two kind of scary points in the film that usually get a reaction. And the first time it was just this little twitter that went through the crowd, and then at the very end there's another scare point. And to hear 400 people all at the same time like just scream and react to what you've made and what's up on the screen, it's really, really gratifying, and that becomes this thing that you just chase forever. I'm gonna keep chasing that probably for the rest of my life, that feeling.
That's
and
amazing.
You can't get that virtually.
That's true.
Yeah, I remember I was in the room at DragonCon when Ding Dong screened, and yeah, that feeling, I still remember the reaction, and I can still visualize the I don't want to spoil anything at all, but I just remember the big moment that you're talking about. I still remember the feeling I had, and also there is something special about experiencing something like that with the crowd, right? Because it's like there's that feeling of everyone gets scared, and then everybody has just heard everybody else get scared, so there's always that moment of slight laughter afterwards when everyone realizes that they've all experienced something together. you know, and
Yeah.
That's
So you wanted me to watch this at like 1:00 in the morning?
Yes.
What's going on? All right,
What's
that's
wrong with you?
I mean, I think you should.
You know,
I
there's
do
two
think you should.
there's two scary parts of the film. You know, just watch it right before you go to bed. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's rude.
My girlfriend had the same situation. I was gonna like I'd seen Ding Dong already, but I was gonna watch it again just to sort of refresh myself. And I started it, and she was the same thing. She was like, "Oh, Scott, hang on, I don't want to. Don't put it on right now. We're going to bed."
I don't want to hear it.
Okay, fine. We'll watch it later. And but yeah, it's guys, if you want to check it out, the link in the description down below for Ding Dong and for Abby and Hold My Horse. In fact, let's talk about them a little bit. So tell us a little bit about. We'll start with Ding Dong, and we'll move on to the other ones after. Oh, first, hang on. Jack Salzman in the chat. What up, Timmy? Hopefully, y'all had today off work. Laugh crying emoji.
We did. I'm happy to be off work for today. We had a really tough week, so it's good to have a little break.
There you go. Welcome to the stream, Jack.
But yeah. Hey, Jack. Ding Dong was the first short that I did sort of out of college that we really put a lot of time and care into. You know, I got to a point where I made movies in college and a couple of shorts afterwards, but then we just didn't really get anything together for a while. And I was like, you know, me and some friends of mine that all make movies, we should do something, even if it's just as an exercise. You know, I've got a house now. We can make a quick little scary monster movie and have fun doing it. And that was the goal. And then it turned out to be something that people kind of really responded to and got into festivals more than I expected it to. Like I said, it got more of a response from crowds than I expected it to, and it was really gratifying and sort of sent me on this path of trying to make more and more movies bigger and better. But the whole idea is just, it's a girl that's home by herself and the doorbell keeps ringing, but there's nobody there. So you go through the whole movie and you find out eventually you find out what's causing the doorbell to ring, and that's where the scares come in. But it was just a concept that I had, like, okay, what can I do that's really small, really easy, and what is scary about everyday sounds, or what's an everyday thing that I can take and make scary? And it's like, a doorbell is generally not a scary idea, but at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, when you're home by yourself and there's nobody at the door, but the doorbell keeps ringing, that can be a scary situation. So
I also feel like it doesn't matter what time of day it is. If you're home by yourself and the doorbell keeps ringing, that's scary on its own.
so do it, right? Yeah.
Like, you talking about it, I was like, oh, I feel that.
Well, anymore too, you know, nobody comes to the door. Like, nobody just drops in. It's always, I'm on my way, you know, texting you, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Can I come by? Just a doorbell ringing out of the blue is very strange, you know.
Especially nowadays.
Especially now, yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
So, I mean, oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Cool. I just wanted to ask more about the movie. Is that again, we don't want to spoil because I want people to watch it, but visual effects wise, there are no like computer animated effects, which tends to be the trend now. You guys went full practical with this one, yeah?
Yeah, it is entirely practical, except for one. We did like a little bit of a CGI pass to smooth something out that didn't quite work, but everything you see on camera is what we saw on set. So, you know, there's moments where the actress was like kind of staying away from the other actor in the movie because she was a little freaked out by it, which, you know, does my heart proud. I got to give credit to Rebecca Lito, who did all the effects work on it. She's just phenomenal. She does union effects work in Chicago, and she came out and gave me a deal and helped me out on the movie. So
awesome.
She's a very skilled artist.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we should talk a little bit about that, because I do find, I mean, the trend today almost always is, I mean, there's the go-to for everything tends to be computer graphics. So anytime you see anything appear on screen that's, you know, say not actually there, or like, you know, something magical or whatever, there tends to be, okay, it's usually computer animation. And I don't me personally, in fact, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. I just find, you can almost always tell when it is, and for me, it's almost it takes me out of it now a little bit. Like when a monster now, like it looks almost. Computer animation still always has a look to it that I feel like real stuff doesn't. I don't know. What are your thoughts in terms of either going practical effects or computers?
You know, I'm never going to say never about anything, but I'm a practical guy for the most part. I think that there's something tangible that, like you say, audiences respond to in seeing a monster, for example, that was really created, that was made out of foam rubber or latex or whatever. It moves a little differently. You know, it doesn't move perfectly. There's something more organic about how somebody has to puppet it or move it around or whatever the mechanism is that makes this monster work for the screen. There's somebody doing that, and it doesn't, you know, you don't get the happy accidents so much with CG. And that's where a lot of the illusion breaks down for people, because things are just too perfect with CG. And the other thing is the actors. You know, actors actually respond to something that's really there in front of them when you have a practical effect, and you don't get that with
That's
computers.
true.
You know, how much different would Jurassic Park be if they hadn't built a 30-foot T-Rex that, you know, Ariana Richards is like screaming in front of? It's just it's a different machine, and it's a different reaction that you get out of people.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that's true. When they're doing like, if you ever watch behind the scenes footage of anything where everything's computer animated, usually the thing they're looking at is like maybe they'll hold like a big green ball up or something, you know, just to give them their eye line, and they'll be like, okay, react to this, you know. But it's obviously going to be a lot easier to react to, you know, a giant slimy monster if the giant slimy monster is actually in front of you and you can actually react to it, right? And
yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's really there for you. It really, you know, you can actually have this thing moving towards you, and people are seeing it. And the other thing is, it's much easier to direct that than too. You know, the directors don't have to like spend all this time explaining what this thing is and getting the actors to really, you know, live in that world. It just makes it easier for the directors to say, hey, that big scary thing that's standing in front of you, that's going to kill you, you know?
Yeah.
And then that reaction is more real.
Yeah, I agree. I do think there seems to be a bit of a renaissance now with people looking back at practical. Like, I even noticed with, like, I know there was this big deal when the new Star Wars sequels were coming out, how that was one thing they were really pushing in like the early promo materials and the behind the scenes stuff. They were showing how like they were actually building the sets, and they were actually had people crafting these things, and they went back to puppets. And then they seem to, I think that's my preference, is when they shoot as much practical as you can, and then you use, in fact, I guess similar to what you did on Ding Dong, you shoot practical, and then the computer comes in to maybe finesse it, or like just make everything just a little bit more smooth and perfect. But I think if you rely too heavily on it, it tends to be feels unreal. So I'm excited that they seem to be going back in that direction.
They're kind of figuring out the way to do it hybrid too. You know, I haven't watched The Mandalorian itself, but I've seen some of the behind the scenes footage of it. And if you watch that, they're doing this thing where they have giant LED screens behind the sets. So instead of a backdrop, now you have this giant LED screen. So you can have all the computer generated backgrounds you want. You don't have to go out to Tunisia to, you know, film in the middle of the desert. Yeah. You still get that look.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a show I have to start watching.
It's good. I highly recommend it. I enjoyed season 1. I wasn't like in love with it, but I enjoyed season 1, and then they stepped it up season 2. Like, it looks like they just sort of figured out, you know, I think it's always hard to do a series when you first start, to figure out exactly what people will respond to and what they're going to like. But then you can tell season 2, they really went, okay, we know what we're doing now, and they really hit the ground running with it. I recommend it. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I did see some of the... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Most shows take a season or 2 to really find their footing. You know, you got to get the writers to figure out the characters. You got to get the tone of the show right. It takes time to do all that, and you're doing it all while you're ramping up this massive, you know, machine and this army that's making it, churning these things out week by week. It's just TV is a tough thing.
Yeah, you know the thing that's always amazed me when I first heard about how TV works, and it's less this way now, I guess, because now with HBO and even the way Netflix miniseries are. they tend to be, they're basically just like long movies the way they're made. But I remember I was always blown away when I found out that a lot of TV shows, it's like they start making it and maybe they've got a little plan for where it's going, but a lot of the time they're almost making it like almost week to week. Like for example, the X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that when they started making the X-Files, they didn't really know where it was going to end. They didn't know where it was going, and they were kind of figuring it out as they go. And I remember a few years ago, I like binge watched the entire series, and knowing that, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now why some of this is confusing, because it's like they had some ideas, like they planted cigarette smoking man in the very first episode, but they didn't really know what he was going to be, you know? It's just interesting. For me, that's so scary, because like I can't imagine going into productions on something if I don't know where I'm going with it. Like for me, that gives me like anxiety to think, wait a minute, what if I can't come up with the idea, you know? But that's just how it used
then
to be.
Then it's game over.
Yeah. I think it's much more akin to writing a comic book, right? Like, you know, if you jump into Batman or something, you know you're never going to end this. So you just have to keep these stories that are consistently going, and that's been the network model forever, though. We're in a kind of a new world in the last 20 years where TV has become more novelistic, and you can do self-contained stories, you know, Breaking Bad that has 6 seasons and this arc that you know from beginning to end. For the longest time, it would be exactly what you said. You know, you would start a TV show and you just put as many elements as you thought you could play with in the pilot, and then you'd see where it went, and you'd see what connected with audiences and let some stuff go and bring new characters in when the old ones weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really new, interesting way to do things, but I think that's why a lot of creators are going towards TV, because you have that freedom to tell much longer stories, but they can be contained. Mm-hmm. And now with the rise of things like Netflix and HBO, you can do limited series. You know, you can do, this show is going to be 6 episodes long, and that's going to be it. You know, we're not looking to do sequels to it. We're not looking to do anything else. This is just how long the story is, and that's the story we're going to tell.
And then you get shows like Simpsons where they're 30 years into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, it's funny. I actually remember there was I was a kid at some point when I found out that thing where they don't know where the next one is going, you know, or where the episode's going. Mm-hmm. And I remember I must have been like 14 or something, and I still remember distinctly going, that's stupid. When I grow up, I'm gonna write the whole thing first and know the entire script before I even start. And I remember thinking that, because I'm like, that's such, what if you can't come up with the idea? What if you don't know what, you know what I mean? And it's interesting to see that's kind of where it's gone, but it's funny that it's always been something that's like, I think it's also because just the way I write, it's hard for me to even start a story if I haven't figured out like how it ends. Like I need to know kind of like, for me, it's like there's like either a climax in my mind or a big scene that's like, that sort of triggers me to go, I know, and then I'm building towards this. So if I haven't found that, it's hard for me to even start working on anything. So I think that's why it gives me sort of anxiety to think about it. But it's a different way to work, I guess.
Well, to defend the showrunners a little bit, I think when you start a network show, it's not that they don't know the big beats. You know, there's a meeting at the beginning of any network show's writing process where they go through and they say, okay, we're going to do these story arcs for this season. You know, kind of the overall idea, they call it breaking the season down. You know, you get the whiteboard out and you start outlining. Just to take an example, spoilers for a 20-year-old show, but like you're going to do an episode or a season of Buffy. You have, okay, so this season Buffy's going to start going to college, and we're going to meet, you know, the extra Slayer, and she's going to go bad, and yada, 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 and, you know, all these kind of things. So you get the general idea of where it's going, and then they have to pull that big arc down, and then they take it into smaller chunks of the episodes. And that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, and the details start filling in. And that's also where it gets really tricky, because those details start to change maybe even how that bigger arc looks, right? You can be halfway through a season writing and say, hey, you know what, that plan we had, it's really not working because there's no chemistry between these two actors we were supposed to have an affair. So we have to pivot and do something else and take the story somewhere else and see if you can make it fit towards the ending you wanted, or you just take where the story goes. And that's the trick of TV.
Yeah.
But it's also what keeps it exciting, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In fact, like even as you're describing that, I'm like, I do, there is an element of that is, yeah, it's exciting and also kind of cool in that it almost does give you that, like you were just describing, kind of that course correction option where, yeah, like maybe you did have, like if you make a film, right? Okay, you write the whole film, you write it out, you've made it, it's scripted, you've done, right? Now maybe there's something that the audience will really not respond to. Maybe there's something that you don't, but you can't really change it because that's your movie. But I guess the cool thing with a series like that is, yeah, you can see how the show is going, you can see how it's being received, and you can also maybe even just change your own mind along the way. And yeah, so there is kind of a flexibility that's kind of exciting in that you're kind of building the story as you go. It just scares me, but I do understand.
I completely understand. Believe me, I get where you're coming from. I can't really start a movie until I know where the whole thing's going. Like I can't start writing it until I have it totally outlined. I'm not a just sit down and start typing guy.
Yeah.
God bless the people that do that, but I'm not one of them.
Yep. Yeah, like the idea, for example, of being, and I guess there's also that, where stuff happens, say in a show. It happens in movies too, but like in a show where there was a contract dispute with one of the actors, and this guy can't be in it anymore. Okay, so now we have to like alter the story now and kill him off somehow, or like
kill him off.
Yeah, or
off screen, no, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which is something that again it's like, I guess if you wrote your script and you were halfway through production, I don't know, what are you going to do in that situation? But I guess you kind of do the same thing. But the idea that with a show, because you're working on it as you go, you'd be like, yeah, he can die, and then they're going to meet his long lost brother is there. Well,
Yeah. So
there's I guess there is definitely an excitement to both, and I guess the idea of kind of working under the gun and working under the deadline, and that you have to have an idea, whatever that idea is, that can almost force you to come up with ideas as well, because you're working under you got to make sure you meet it and everything. So that's cool. It's
yeah. The best ideas usually come when you're under fire, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well,
Speaking of under fire, hang on, Scott. You've now had an extension on finishing your movie. Are you done? So Timothy, Scott's been working on a short film for 2 years, and he said on one of our shows that he would finish it by the end of January. We're halfway through February, Scott. Are you done?
Almost.
No.
Yeah.
Would this be Kessler's the one I saw?
No, in fact, this is one that I had an idea for since. In fact, actually, I had the idea for this script since before Kessler Syndrome.
Okay.
And the only reason I made Kessler first was because at the time, Kessler Syndrome seemed like a simpler idea. Right?
Clearly it was, if you got that done first.
Yeah, well, because you've seen Kessler Syndrome, so there's spaceships and it's funny how in my mind how simple that part of it seemed, because in my head I was like, oh, what's the most complicated part of like the filming? Oh, it's like 90% of this movie is a guy sitting in a chair, and it's me, so I don't have to worry about hiring actors, I don't have to worry about all this stuff. So that was in my mind what I was thinking. And this new one that I'm working on now, Storage Room B, I knew I wasn't going to be the star in it. I wanted to cast people, and there was also like multiple cast members and stuff, like several people. And at the time, for me, I thought that was by far the most complicated part of just like getting everything together. But looking back now, I mean, it's actually a lot easier to just find that one day where you can get everybody together in one place, because at least then you meet that one day, you shoot that one day, and now it's done. But what I didn't anticipate was with Kessler Syndrome how the visual effects of making it look right took months and months and months and months. So it's funny how I was completely wrong. But anyway, yeah, this new one that I'm working on, we shot it actually like 2 years ago, and then it's just kind of, I don't know, stuff gets in the way, and it's a challenging one, but it's almost done, Regine. It's coming along very well. I got the picture.
You said that last week.
And we are closer this week than we are last week. But like I finally got the picture sounding good, and then I'm like messing with the audio levels now. There's just a lot of things, but it's coming along.
So the end of February?
Yes.
We need to give you a deadline, because if you don't have a deadline, you're never going to finish it.
No,
we need to hold you accountable.
That is true. I know. I mean,
and I feel like if you, I feel like if you have a fellow filmmaker putting pressure on you too, then it will make you really work harder on it.
That's
Don't
true.
disappoint us, Scott.
I agree.
You
Yes, it's
already
coming.
have. Don't disappoint us evermore.
I got your back though, Scott. Post is hard. We shot a short that barely took us half a day to shoot, and there's no VFX in it whatsoever, and it's been kicking around for a year. We shot it right before the pandemic hit, and it's just been so hard to get anything done because I can't even go over and sit down with the editor.
Yeah.
Like just finishing the picture cut on it is almost impossible because you can't do the little fine detail stuff that you really need to be in a room for to say, okay, change that by 6 frames, change this by 12 frames. What if we move this shot just a little bit that way? And that little playtime that you need to really perfect a film, you can't really do it back and forth over email. It doesn't have the real-time conversation that you need. So that's just been sitting there waiting to get finished too.
Wait, so you have the pandemic in the way. Scott is the editor and the director.
Yeah, I mean,
trying to help out here.
but she is.
I appreciate the help, but
you are right about that. You know what the biggest struggle for me with this one is in fact, actually, the thing is, so I made the same mistake twice. In that Kessler Syndrome, same thing. I made that movie thinking it was the simplest movie I could come up with, right? Which ended up being a very visual effects heavy, post-production heavy monster. This movie, once I got the cast and everything out of the way, I thought it would be way simpler. But I made the mistake of, so if I just made it as a regular movie, it would already be done. But I decided to run with this concept of one camera angle. So the camera stays in one place the whole time, because in my mind, I wanted it to almost be like a theater experience where you're experiencing... It's basically about 2 people who hide out in a storage room during a zombie apocalypse, and they just are trapped in there for weeks. And the idea is watching them go through this time, but the camera never moves, right? So it's just cuts that show time passing. So for me, that seems simple. It's like, okay, you're only setting up one angle, you set up your lighting once, and now you're just... But the thing that I underestimated was continuity, because if the camera never moves, every little thing that moves on set is blatantly obvious, right? So so if you do say 2 or 3 takes, which maybe you might do, like if your actors want to do a take of a scene before we move on, it's like if we do 1 take and then they moved something, and maybe I want to use, a piece of a previous take, like what you do, like editing, you could just cut away and then cut back, and get the best performance. That's not a big deal, but because now you've got 1 camera angle, it's like, oh, well, there was a paper towel on the ground over there, and it's kind of shaped like this now because there was some wind that blew it. Oh, but I really like this take. So what it's basically done is it's turned, in essence, every shot in the movie has some element of either masking or some kind of effect where I'm taking a piece of background from somewhere else. So it's basically gone from basically what I was hoping was straight up just basically like a horror drama type where I'm just filming 2 actors acting. But it's like, now that I've edited
it's
that,
a hodgepodge of everything.
Yes, now every shot has some visual effect element. So it's like the entire movie is visual effects again, which I didn't want it to be.
Now you're just a rotoscope now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I have a problem. But,
February 28th, 2021. It'll be done, finally.
yes.
Holding you accountable to it.
I'll send you a message on the 27th.
Me too.
Where is it? Where's it? Where's the film? Yeah, I know. And then, so there's that issue. And then the other issue I found is, so I just described you the plot, how it's like time going by. So one thing I did when we were shooting is, I wanted to get some of that sort of awkwardness of being in a room. So I did have them improvise parts where I would just roll and just have the actors just interact with each other and interact with the location. And so the problem with that is you end up with a lot of footage that is good, like it's just 2 actors doing stuff. But then there's this difficult thing of, okay, I kind of wanted this to be like a short, and I've got like an hour of in fact, I think when I first put everything in order chronologically, even after choosing the good takes, I had it was like a 2-hour movie, and it's way too long, and it doesn't work. But there was a large
Wow.
part of it of sort of making decisions of, wow, I really love this little thing where they were talking about this, but okay, I've just got to cut it, you know? And so there's been a lot of hacking away at what I think are good performances, but just doesn't work. So it's both. It's both of those things. It's both of those.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel like the improvisation, you know, on your part as a director, as a filmmaker, do you feel like that's the fun of it? Do you feel like that's the hardest part about it? Or is it kind of both? Because it's kind of both for me, you know?
It was, in fact, one thing I was excited about with this movie, because, so you saw Kessler Syndrome. I was the star in Kessler Syndrome, right? And I remember even at the time thinking, like, my least favorite part seems to be, I don't like directing and acting at the same time because it's completely different, right? And so with this movie, I was really looking forward to, like, just being able to work on actors' performances. You know, I was wanted to pull a good performance out of the actors. I got really lucky, though, with this one, is that the actors I got were so good. And so I almost felt like I could just let them go, you know? And so that's why when I said, okay, try improvise. So they were just doing all these things, and I was loving it. I was like, wow, this is so, like, it's all gold. It's all gold, right? But now it's like, now when you're stuck with all of this footage, it's been really tough now to make those decisions of, like, do I need this in? Do I need it not? And so, yeah, it's a happy position to be in, but it's still, when I'm trying to get to a running time that's maybe 15 minutes at the most, maybe, it's tough. So, yeah.
Wow, so from 2 hours to 15 minutes.
Yes.
Cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's yeah. Anyway.
It's all problem solving.
Yeah. It's coming along. It's coming along. Okay. You know what, Regine? Let's do the ad break, and then I want to come back.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, we've already, because yeah, you need to wrap up at around 12. Yes.
I can give you a little more if you
A
need.
little more
Yeah.
time.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, because we'll do the ad break, and then I want to talk about Abby and Hold My Horse.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today's episode of The Sit Down was brought to you by some very important people. Right, Regine?
Mm-hmm.
Those
Yes,
people, of
they
course.
are.
Those people, of course, are our advertisers. Hey,
Mhm.
Regine,
Yes, Scott.
do you want to find out what your home is really worth?
Maybe.
Are you buying, selling, investing, or renting a home?
I might be.
Then Jennifer C., Realtor at Home Life Culture Link, is here to help. Call or text Jennifer today at 647-403-8887. Don't deal with just anyone. Speak to a professional. Jennifer C. at Home Life Culture Link. To see her current listings, visit homelifeculturelink.com. The Mortgage Godfather is here to give you advice with any mortgage needs you may have, and he will shop to find you the best mortgage. Nino Simeka, mortgage agent. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse. Find out more at mortgagegodfather.ca or call 905-604-6955. And it was brought to you by Jewelry Forever, conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East Markham. They do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and change watch batteries, all done on site. And we have a very great deal worked out with them, don't we, Regine?
We do. If you let them know that Scott and Regine sent you, you'll get 15% off your entire purchase.
That's right. They're probably closed at the moment because of lockdown, but when they open up again,
Yes.
head on over there. Tell them Scott and Regine sent you. Get 15% off. Jerry over at Jewelry Forever is an absolute artist. Custom-made jewelry. If you have an idea or something you'd like created, he is your man. JewelryForever.ca to find out more. And it was brought to you by Deliciousness Treats.
Yes, hot chocolate bombs, juice bombs, dipped Oreos, smash cakes, and I think that's, and Roast Krispies. We've been very busy during Valentine's Day, so I just want to say thank you to everyone that has ordered and supported this local business. But if you are interested in ordering, make sure you follow us on Instagram at deliciousness_treats and on Facebook at Deliciousness Treats.
There you go, everybody. Deliciousness treats for you and a friend. That's what it is.
Yes.
That's the slogan, right?
Yes.
Deliciousness treats, everybody.
For you and a friend.
Sweet treats for you and a friend, and I can personally attest to their deliciousness. Check them out. And if you would like to advertise on the show, it's very easy, right, Regine?
It's simple. All you guys have to do is email us at radioshowad, that's radioshowad@gmail.com.
That's right. Get in touch. radioshowad@gmail.com. It's a great way to start a new relationship with a potential new client base. We do the show live every week, and we do the ads live week to week, just like you're hearing right now, which means you can personalize them week to week. Do you have an event, a sale, or something happening at a specific time or place? You let us know, and we can let your potential client base know in real time. It's incredible. Money will rain from the sky. Maybe. Probably not. But anyways, find out more at radioshowad@gmail.com. And we're back. We are back. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Jaylon Smith, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Jaylon Smith. Christopher Mraz. Hi, Scott. Hello. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to the show. Mila Monzon. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. Hi, Mila. Good morning. If you guys
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. If you guys are just tuning in, that's good. We're here with the wonderful filmmaker Timothy Troy. And Timothy, tell us a bit about Abby.
Okay. Abby's a short film I directed 3 years ago now. It was on the festival circuit in 2019. And it's about a scientist that creates a biological computer. The biological computer develops a virus which jumps into one of his lab assistants, and it makes her a little bit murderously insane.
Oh.
It was written by my very good friend Dan McGuire, who's kicking that idea around for a long time, and he finally figured out how to really crack it into a short film that we could make. And we threw everything we could at it, and I'm really happy with how it came out.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I again, same thing, guys. Link in description down below. And again, no spoilers, but I will say the ending left me legitimately very surprised. I didn't see it coming at all. But the thing I love about twists and things like that is they're always perfect when you realize that something happened earlier in the movie that maybe you didn't notice or you didn't really think anything of it, and then when the ending happens you go, oh, that's why that, and this movie pulls that off perfectly. It was just really well done.
Is this one a horror too, or is it more?
It's sci-fi thriller.
Okay, so I won't get scared.
I wouldn't go that far. There's a little bit of scare to it, but it's not like a monster, creepy slasher kind of movie. No, it's
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you before I watch that. So can I watch this one? Will it keep me up at night?
It's I mean, there's definitely moments of I mean, I don't know. Scared is kind of the right word, but yeah, exactly what you're saying. It's different. It's a different type of. It's not like a jump scare type movie. It's more.
Call it intense rather than scary.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, actually, and we have
That's
the trailer.
a good way to put it.
We have the trailer queued up so that people can check it out. So why don't we show that to the people right now? Everybody, check it out. This is the teaser trailer for Abby.
Abby's a mess.
You really need to start trusting her.
It can be isolated.
She can't handle this.
Isolated, eliminated, it's all the same.
This thing just won't die.
We're out of options.
She's going to kill us.
The virus is corrupting your mind.
I promise I won't do it.
Abby, no!
We are in control.
And that was the trailer for Abby. I wanted to ask you a bit
Do you
about
think
the
that's how coronavirus happened?
I mean,
Sure.
yeah. Hard to say, but I did want to ask you about the cast a little bit because the cast was really strong.
Sure.
Yeah, tell us a bit about them.
They are all local Chicago actors, or they were when we filmed it. Claire, who plays Abby, has since moved, but which I consider a giant loss for the Chicago filmmaking community. I'd love to work with her again at some point if we find the right project. I'd love to work with any of those actors again if we find the right projects. We cast them through my producer. His name's Corey Gilbert. He runs a company called P3 Media Works in Chicago, which does a lot of corporate videos, but he's a huge supporter of independent film. So I met him, believe it or not, I met him at Dragon Con as well.
Nice.
And, we found out that we were both from Chicago, and I was prepping this movie, and he mentioned that he was producing films. So it just kind of became a logical thing for us to meet up and chat. And we hit it off, and we get along famously. He's produced a couple of things for me. He's helped on other projects, and I help him on his projects whenever we get a chance. We really do like working together. So Dragon Con's a great place to meet other filmmakers, apparently, right?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But casting it, we went through his company. He had connections to get the auditions all set up, and it was a really fun process casting that film. Corey was actually reading with Claire when she did her audition, and it was instant. We knew she was going to be Abby because she did a reading. There's a part where she punches through a pane of glass, and she was doing that in the audition. Like, she just went right past his head, and the look on Corey's face is always going to be in my memory. He was just like, oh. He wasn't really, he wasn't in any danger, of course, but it was,
you could feel
the intensity in that character was already there. So
Wow.
she was the first one we cast, and has of course since become the face of the movie because she's the title character. So really grateful to have worked with her. She's actually a phenomenal filmmaker in her own right. She's got a movie called Runner that she wrote, directed, and starred in, and I strongly suggest anybody goes and seeks out because it's really, really well done.
Runner.
Yeah, it was really just well done. Like the performers were really good. I was right in there. Oh, somebody just followed. Although I'm not going to read your name, but welcome and thank you for following and welcome to the channel. What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, the effects of the actual computers. There's like a slimy, like almost like a biological element to. So what went into creating that? Because it looked really, there was something gross about it, and also like it was moving. Like, yeah, tell me a bit about that.
It's all credit to Colin Bach, who was the production designer on it. He suggested the first thing to do was to make this biological computer out of a liquid-cooled gaming computer, which I had never heard of in my life. It was like, oh, you can run liquids through computers? This is great. And then I look at this thing and it's like, that's perfect. There's tubes running through. We'll make the liquid red, and then it'll look like blood's running through it. And I had the idea of getting a little brain that we stuck electrodes in and made it look like it was pulsing. The pulsing effect is as low-key as you possibly can imagine. If you look at the framing of it, there's just one little corner of the brain that you can't see, and that's the corner that I'm poking it with a pencil off screen to make it pulse. So
That's awesome.
practical effects, right?
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't ruin the magic of it for anybody, but that's how it got done.
No.
I'm gonna watch it and I'll be like, he's poking the brain.
But that's the other thing that I love about practical effects is, like, there's a creativity there that, I mean, like I said, I actually really like computer animation. I do. I like a lot of things about it, and I like when it's used properly. But I do feel like there is something about that. I remember even as a kid, the thing that really appealed to me about wanting to make movies and all that is the figuring out of how you're gonna do something. You know what I mean? It's like, will you use fishing line? Is there gonna be duct tape over? You know what I mean? Like, that part for me is what appeals to me, and I just. So when you tell me that there's a pencil in there, like, I love that, because some of the stuff that seems so simple can have such an amazing effect when you film it right and you light it right and you just position the camera, so cool. And it worked really well in Abby.
Thank you. that movie was a really good experience for me in terms of growing as a director, because Ding Dong was pretty small. Hold My Horse was a little bigger, but Abby's the third movie we kind of have done in that sequence of making films, and it was a much bigger thing to tackle. I'm glad I had Corey helping me produce it, because there's stunts, there's practical effects, there's blood effects, there's makeup that's got to get done, there's all of these lighting gags that go into it. We're shooting in much bigger spaces with a larger cast. We were using 2 cameras. We were doing it in a tiny little working server room, which is both fun and insane at the same time, because you have 30 square feet that you're trying to get an entire cast crew, dolly, and stunt performers into, and on top of all the effects you're doing, and you can't really turn anything off because it's a server room that's working as a business, so it's loud. It was a enjoyable experience, but it was also the first 2 days of filming where we were in the server room, and both days I came home, and Dan, who was there and who was editing it and who wrote it, he was kind of talking me off a ledge, because I was like, I don't know if I'm getting it all, I don't know if we've got it all, if this is all working, I have no idea what's going on. And he's like, you're fine, calm down, it'll be easier the next couple of days. And it was, because we went into a high school. Actually, we shot at my old high school.
Nice.
Chicago, which was fun in its own right. I'm back where I went to high school 20 years ago, but now I've got 30 people like swarming all over the school. But it was much easier those other days, because we were a little more spread out and we could really drill down. And I that's going to be one of the best experiences of my life so far, I think. So.
Awesome. One thing I want to ask you about is, and you can say it for either Abby or any of your films, really. I just know, when I look back on filming Kessler Syndrome and even this new film that I'm working on, the one thing I always find is, like, when I'm looking at the stuff afterwards, I always think back of, if I was filming this now, I definitely would do this, and it would have been so much easier if I'd done that. Like, there's always that, like, oh man, like, if I just made this decision, everything would have been so much smoother. But obviously you can never do that, because you're not going to be making the same movie again. But I guess it's just a lesson you learn. But I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you can remember that, like, looking back, you're like, if I was going in and shooting Ding Dong again, or if I was shooting Abby again, knowing what I know now, it would have been much, you know what I mean? Do you have any moments like that you can think of?
I don't know if there's specific moments. I think you take the kind of the cumulative effect of shooting a film, and you try and bring that forward into doing something next. I know one lesson that you get is, I'm always trying to refine how I deal with performers and how I direct them, because I think that's the hardest thing for me. I come out of a technical background. I'm a dolly grip in the Union in Chicago, so I'm very comfortable with the camera side of it, and talking to the crew members. Talking to actors at first was intimidating. I'm not going to lie about that at all. It's gotten less intimidating since, but it's still what I struggle with and what I'm trying to improve upon. I've never acted, so I don't have a great sense of what they're going through. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to understand that more. Mm-hmm. But every time you direct, you find other ways to talk to actors and other ways to make things better, and that's my main focus right now, and that's what I'm trying to always improve my game on.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. You pick up little skill sets, and then you just try to move it on into the next project. Yeah, that's good. It's just funny, because it's similar. Like, I also make music as well, and like, I guess it's the same thing. I think every artist I've ever spoken to is like this, where you look at your past projects, and there's a point where, luckily for me, I know there's some artists who, like, they can't even look at their past work, because they're like, no, that's not what I do anymore. But so far I'm in a good spot with it. How do you feel with if you look at your older stuff? Is there any stuff, maybe even stuff that's not out there anymore, where you look at it and go, oh yeah, you don't want to look at that. Trust me, you should look at this instead. This is more of what I do.
I mean, maybe it's just the outlook I have, or maybe I just have a happier opinion of what I do. But I can look back at my old stuff, and I can acknowledge that it's, that it's rough, or that it's not there, but I also can see what I was trying to do, and I think there's some value in at least patting yourself on the back or being positive about the things that you succeeded in. You can't always just look at your old stuff and look at what didn't work, because that teaches you what to do in the next point, but you also need to give yourself credit where the credit is due, because that's what helps you go forward. Like if you just look at your old work and you think that you were a complete failure and nothing helped or nothing was good, why are you still doing it, right? You have to be able to find the good stuff in what you did to keep you moving forward.
Sure.
So I guess to answer your question, no, if I look at my old stuff, it's not like it's the first thing I want to show anybody. But it's also, if somebody comes across it and says, I want to see that, hey, anytime anybody says they want to see anything I make, I'm happy to show it to them. Because, even if it's not the greatest thing I did, that's still somebody that's interested in what I'm doing. And that's a great feeling.
And you can just show them your growth instead. You're like, this is where I started and this is where I am now.
Yeah.
That's good advice. And what I also find happens as well is I think the further away something gets, I don't know if this is just maturity or something, but it's like I find I might have created something, whatever it was, and like a year or two after creating it, I'm like, oh, I can't even look at that. And then 3, 5 years, 8 years back, then you look back, and then now I find you look at it differently. Like it's kind of almost a nostalgic, like, oh yeah, I forgot that I had that, So I think it kind of goes full circle a little bit. You kind of see the other side. But
there's always the rose-colored glass of whatever you're working on at the moment, or whatever whatever your latest thing is too. Like that's always the best thing you're ever going to do, right? Whatever you're writing now, whatever you're making right now, like you're just so into it that it consumes everything about your artistic life. And then when you move on from it, it's like, well, why was I so obsessed with that? Because it's the only way to get it done,
That's a good point.
So.
In fact, I still remember the first time when I played in a band. Right out of high school, we played our first gig, and the venue we played at, we played for nobody. We were playing for like the sound guy and like my parents. And I remember the sound guy was like, hey, for $20, I can record your set. I was like, oh, okay, awesome. So we gave him $20. And I remember we get home. I don't know, we're listening to it in the car. There was a CD player in the car. And we're like, whoa, this is the first time we ever heard ourselves recorded. We're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We got to sell this. We're going to sell this album. This is so good. And I remember like, at the time, I remember Colin in my band. I think he showed his girlfriend at the time. Like, yeah, check this out. And she showed her dad. And like the dad was like, don't quit your day jobs, kids. Right. And we were like, what? He can't, what? How can he not hear
what? So weird.
How can he not hear this incredible work of art we've just created? And it's just funny, like looking back at that recording, I'm like, no, we're not selling that to anybody. But it is funny, the rose-colored glasses. Yeah, it's funny. And then you hopefully build on that.
Do you still have
later.
the CD?
I probably do somewhere. I remember like I got so excited at the time. I went in my I even made like a label and everything, like in like photo editing software and stuff. Like I was ready to like package this thing and like give it to everybody. But luckily luckily the
You should though, as a joke right now. You should be like, this is what I was working on during quarantine.
Yeah, guys, I hope you guys like it. I guess I would have been 17 at the time or something. Yeah.
So,
I want to ask you now about Hold My Horse.
Sure. Hold My Horse is a short Civil War set comedy. It's not like a complete laugh out loud farcical thing. It's more of just an amusing anecdote, but it's all 100% based in history.
nice.
I have a friend that I met on the TV show I work on. He's a camera operator and I'm a dolly grip, so we were paired together for a long time, and he is very involved in the Civil War living history world. He has a YouTube channel called Civil War Digital Digest. His name's Will Eichler. He produced the film after we were just chatting. Like he was telling me a story that he was reading from a book about a Civil War general that likes to walk around in basically civilian clothes. Like he kind of disdained the uniform. He thought it was a lot too much pomp and circumstance, and just wanted to be more down to earth, especially with his men. And there's a story of a young lieutenant that is supposed to come send him a message, and he comes across the general on the road and sort of treats him badly because he doesn't realize who it is. And the story picks up from there, and the lieutenant kind of learns the lesson of how to treat people with respect no matter who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So Will was telling me the story, and I was like, that could make a nice little short film. And he was like, yeah, it could. And our you get that look in your eyes where your brains just are firing together at the same time. And so we were kind of off on running from there. I think we had the idea to do it in February or January, and by June or July of that year, we had 15, 20 living historians out there in costume.
Wow.
In kit, rather, is what they call it. And we're out in the middle of a field in Wisconsin with the actors and shooting a short film. And that was another one of these kind of step-ups in my experience level, because I had just done Ding Dong, which was this tiny little movie we shot with 10 people in our house, and then all of a sudden I'm responsible for a cast of 20 people when you include all the extras. I've got one of the actors from a network TV show coming in to star on it. It's complicated logistically, it's a lot to take care of. And then we have an actual true story that we're trying to work all the details into.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a new challenge, and it was a lot of fun to do it that way. Yeah. What else do you want to know?
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think you answered some of it already, because I was going to ask about the sets and sort of the costumes and everything. I mean, it looks
real.
amazing. So it was through it was Civil War reenactor people who kind of all came out and wanted to be involved.
Correct.
That's cool.
And Will is very particular about the way that the kit all looks. He wants to get those details right. It's something that bothers him when he watches, a Civil War movie and the coats aren't correct, or the time periods aren't correct. We even work a little of that into the story itself. There's a description of how the tents that they're using in the war change kind of midway through, and it's those little details that really give you the specificity that make a movie feel natural and feel authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And from top to bottom, Will made sure that everything about the film was authentic. And then it was great for me too, because if Will wasn't around for some reason, I could turn to literally anybody on the set, because they were all real living historians.
That's true.
And be like, would they use that cup? How would they be cooking this food? And I could have everybody answering these questions, and they'd all have basically the same idea. And so I knew I was getting the details right there.
That's awesome.
It was really cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it's nice when they have that level of passion on something, so that the real details are there. So does the way it work with those things is that if you want to be like involved with those Civil War reenactors, do each person kind of build up their own kit? Is that how it works? And then they meet up, right? So that's cool. So each person. That's awesome. So each person brings
from
their
what
stuff.
I can tell from basically chatting with a lot of people that are in that world now, the cost of doing a Civil War impression is roughly the same as doing any kind of real decent cosplay or anything like that. Like it's all about the same. If you want to be Darth Vader, it's about the same as being a proper Civil War general. It's about the same as being a stormtrooper. It's about the same as being anything. So
makes sense.
And
I imagine,
but it's a hobby like anything else.
Cool. Yeah, and they're probably like people who specialize in like manufacturing,
Definitely its own little cottage industry. Although a lot of the guys, when they get into it, will tell you, they learn to sew because they're doing this, because they're going to make their own coats, or they're going to make their own flags or blankets or whatever. My dad actually was a Civil War reenactor for a while, and that's part of why I wanted to do the film, because it was, a little touchstone to part of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a little bit of experience with that world through what he went through when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to experience it more on the other side as a filmmaker. So it was a touching little moment for me.
That's awesome.
Sweet. And same thing, I put the link to that one. There's 2 links right in the description that you sent me, where people can check out that movie.
There's 2 places. There's 2 places to get it. They're both VOD, so it's a little bit of a cost to see it. I think it's $3 or $5 to rent it, depending on what version you do. But the money actually goes towards historic preservation as well. The general that we feature in the film, his name's Israel Richardson, was killed at Antietam, and so part of the money goes to preserve historic battlefields in Antietam and in other places. So
that's awesome.
Actually, that's great. So that means you can watch a movie about Civil War, and then it's going to help preserve the actual history of it as well. Very cool. Very cool. So links are in the description, guys, for all 3 films: Abby, Ding Dong, and Hold My Horse. We're going to wrap up soon, but I did want to just ask as well, when did you realize you wanted to be a filmmaker? What brought you into it? Where's your story? Was it where you were a little kid? Is it something you got into a little bit later? What brought you into the film world?
I was definitely young, probably grade school, maybe junior high, when I kind of realized. I think I bought my first video camera in 6th grade. So that was when I started. And I mean, this is goofy little stuff. Like, I'm doing stop motion videos that are my Godzilla like chasing after Army Men. That was the
That's
beginning
still
of
something.
Yeah, but I knew I wanted to do it then. I think what got me into it was actually behind the scenes stuff, kind of like your story, Scott. You watch behind the scenes videos and you realize that this is a career. Like, you can do this for a living. You can go make movies, and that was something that clicked for me. I don't know if you've seen them, but there were behind the scenes movies on Jurassic Park and on Star Wars.
I've seen the
Star Wars one.
The Star Wars one's the one I watched the most. I haven't seen the Jurassic Park one, but yeah.
The Star Wars ones, like the guys on pickup trucks driving by the Death Star, and stuff blow up, right? And there's a camera mounted in the back of the pickup truck. Yeah. It's that, and they're like tearing apart model airplanes to make all these ships for the film. The Jurassic Park one's similar to that. You see people messing around with the dinosaur special effects and these big rigs to flip the car over or whatever. That was the moment that was like, oh, I could do this and people will pay me for it, and this is what I could be doing for a living. And I never got into special effects because I'm just not that mechanically minded, but that was the road that started me to it. And like, oh, Steven Spielberg's cool, I want to be him.
Yeah,
where that came from.
I still remember watching. There was the one you're describing with Star Wars, with this truck driving by this big square. And the thing that I remember blew my mind with it, which is such a strange thing, is that they're outside, like it looks like a desert or something where they are. I don't remember. It's just a big bright outdoor space, and the truck's driving by and they're filming as it's happening. And I remember when I saw that, it kind of, because it's like when you see that in the movie, like that's a piece of the Death Star in space, and the idea that they were just in a parking lot or something doing that, I think it made me realize it. I don't know. I still remember having this weird wait, but they're in a parking lot though, and that's just the sun shining. It felt so weird that they could just film this little part of it, and that's the Death Star getting hit by a blaster, but they're in a parking lot. It was such a weird calculation and connection that I still remember making. That so it's cool that we the same inspiration. What's actually kind of cool is I remember when I was at the Something Wicked Film Festival, I was on a panel with a bunch of other filmmakers, and every filmmaker almost has the same origin story, as in, I was using this video camera and the only thing that was different was the technology they were using, and that was only determined by their age. So there was these guys in their 50s, and they were like, I was filming on this 16 millimeter thing that my dad had, and then I was like, I had 2 VCRs, and I was like, I couldn't edit, so I was hit record on this VCR, right? And then the other kid's like, I was using my phone, and it was so cool to hear it's all the similar origin, and all that changes is kind of what you had access to.
The technology.
Yeah. So
now, did you go to film school, Scott?
I didn't.
Or did you just do this all?
it was for me it was all on my own because it's funny looking back. I applied to university for the film program at 2 universities in Toronto, and I didn't get into them. And looking back, I should have applied to like a college program. That would have been better anyway. But yeah, so I didn't. So then I ended up going to university for something regular, and then I sort of taught myself the stuff. Like, I mean, I was already making, like sorry, you were saying, with a little, like I had a video camera, and I was making stuff pretty much since I was a kid. What kind of video camera did you use when you first started?
Oh, the first one I got was, I think it was a JVC. It was a JVC mini VHS. So it had, you had these tiny little VHS cassettes that were like about the size of a tape cassette.
Yeah.
And then you had to put them in a converter to play them in a real VHS. And I was the same way as you. I had a dual deck VCR that I had inherited from my grandfather. And you do that, and it was like the most inefficient way to edit that has ever been devised. It's like start in here, and then press record on there, and then stop. And it was. I don't recommend that as a way to learn, but it was fun when you were doing it at the time. Every time
there's a cut, there's like that big like blast of like static or whatever it is like going. So like
exactly.
They cut to somebody else, and I still remember.
I feel like going to school, because I think I was one of the last generations of film students that actually cut anything on film. Because I went to Columbia College in Chicago, and we got to shoot on film and then cut on film for the first couple of classes. And there's something about that tactile sense of actually putting a blade to a film, taping it together, running it through a film projector that teaches you the rhythms of editing, I think, a little better than doing it on a computer. Mm-hmm. It makes you more careful about it because it's a big pain if you need to change anything. And it gives you this more personal connection to what you're making, right? Because it's in your hands, and that I'm so grateful that I got to do that.
Yeah, that's I've never ever worked with actual film. I remember my high school had a VHS editor in their editing room. And I remember that thing was cool. They had like wheels on it, so you go like, and you had to make sure, same thing, if you wanted to do a cut, you have to make sure that don't do it in between 2 frames. You had to do it on the right, like fully on a frame, or else it'll be all distorted when you cut. But I've never worked with actual film. That's really, and I wonder if I ever will, because the cost is so, like, I can't, would I ever, I mean, I guess if I had a huge budget, like, I know like Christopher Nolan, he only uses film. And I like the idea, but also at the same time, would I ever find myself wanting to do that, justifying the cost? I don't know. Would you ever want to work with film?
Maybe one day.
We were close to shooting one of the shorts on film. We decided not to because it was just too much runaround to do it. But I wouldn't mind doing it again. And it really doesn't sound like the difference in post is that much greater. It does cost more upfront because you have to buy the film, obviously, and get it processed. But once it's processed, it's, you're in the same world you are digital. So I wouldn't be against it. I just don't know that I could ever justify it, like you say, for an independent film. It's just not. The only reason we were going to do it for a short is because somebody had a bunch of film left in their freezer, basically.
Oh yeah, so
pull it out and
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's the thing, because I mean, the idea that's the thing with digital, like, you're so spoiled in that, like, there's not really a cost per shot. I mean, yeah, I guess there's like, it's taking up memory on your hard drive or whatever, but you can delete it and it's gone, and you can just shoot again, and you can kind of do that forever. Whereas with film, every take is costing you something, so I guess
it changes the equation. Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, it also makes you a more conscientious person. It's not like just let the camera run, just let it go, do take after take after take. Like, you really have to decide, okay, what do I want out of this next take, and how do I get it? Because I can't do this forever. It adds. You never have enough time, but adding the idea of not having enough footage to complete the movie is an extra pressure that it's not necessarily a bad thing, is what I would say.
It's similar to what we were talking about with TV, how feeling that extra pressure to like you must get this done at this time. Your next episode needs to be there. It kind of forces creativity, and I do agree with that. There's like something about, good stuff is made in like that pressure cooker type situation. So
yeah.
The other thing it just makes me think of, though, it really when you watch older movies where there is like a ton of cuts or like really creative like high quality editing, when you think of that in anything that had to be done on film, it's almost, I have to have an extra level of respect for filmmakers who are able to do that, because like with digital now, like it's so you can make every cut, you can make every shot 1 frame long if you wanted to, and it kind of takes a while, but it's quite easy to do. You can cut anything in any way, you can experiment, you can dissolve things, you can kind of, the world is your oyster now on digital editing. But to do something creative like that with actual film, I mean, it was you had to really have it planned out. You couldn't really experiment in the same way, right? So it's pretty amazing. It's cool that you got to shoot on film and edit. Yeah, it's thing I don't think I've ever even held it before. I don't think I ever have.
Bucket list it.
I guess so.
Should just to try it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know Christopher Nolan, he swears by it. He says that it's got a look that you just can't, the digital hasn't reached. I mean, I'm not even sure if I necessarily, I mean, he's probably right, and I'm not going to suggest that he obviously knows what he's talking about, but I do feel like I know for me personally, I think if you finish the picture or color correct it in a certain way, I think you can get digital looking I think close enough. That's the other thing. I don't know if I necessarily feel the pull necessarily.
I would probably agree with that. I think if you sat down 99% of the audience and showed them a side-by-side comparison, none of them, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
The most you might get is people saying that there's a little subconscious difference, but they couldn't tell you. It's like
what it is,
right? You give. They do all those tests where they give wine connoisseurs like the $10 bottle and the $200 bottle.
Yeah.
They do the blind test, and even the guys selling you the wine at the stores like can't tell the difference. So.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, it reminds me of too is like I always think in my mind, like when I'm making the movie, I'm making it to be consumed by. I'm not really making this for film people or like a film connoisseur, right? I've always thought of my stuff, I'm making it for, the general audience. Like I remember one time a friend of mine was telling me about this sound engineer that he'd heard of who his ears were so trained that like he built this special vocal booth that was like perfectly sonically balanced or whatever. And he was saying how he saw an interview with him where the guy, he can't even listen to any music that wasn't made in that perfect way. You know what I mean? And if there was anything that was kind of off, it was like he just couldn't hear it. And my friend was telling me this story to be like, isn't that amazing? And I was like, that honestly sounds awful. Like that sounds terrible. Like most people, your average person does not listen to music in that way. You think of old recordings from like the 60s, for example, when they were still figuring out how to make music. And like you can still get as much emotional reaction out of that as you can get of something made now, even though the quality is not even close to there. And I think that's more important to your average person than like sonically acoustically perfect. I don't know. I just think the audience reaction is more emotional, I guess.
Yeah. I would agree.
Cool. That's good. Oh, hey, Nightwalker, welcome to the stream. Hello. Zach isn't smart. Hi. Hello, Zach isn't smart. But you know what, Zach? I think you are smart. All right. Welcome to the show. I think, we've gone an hour and a half. And so you've given us an entire extra 32 minutes actually. Why don't we? I think we should probably wrap up. But I do want to before we say goodbye, plug I guess anything that you'd like people to find you at if you have any social media or what films they should check out or websites, anything like that. Let people know where people go.
You can find me easily. I'm on Facebook. It's just Timothy Troy. You can search for me and I'll come up. I'm pretty sure my profile is as public as it gets. You can find all of the stuff that we're making at either Crazy Little Monster, crazylittemonsterproductions.com, or our Crazy Little Monster YouTube page, which I think you have a link for in the description.
Yep.
And if anybody's interested in our next project at CLM, you can send us an email to crazylittemonsterproductions@gmail.com, and we'll send you a private link for it. It's just starting to go out to festivals now, but you can get a little sneak peek at what the next project will be. So it's
interesting.
a horror comedy. So this one's funny. It's not scary at all, Regine.
Okay.
It's not scary at all. About a witch that Zoom bombs a meeting of her employees or her former coworkers.
Oh. Zoom bombing.
Yeah, we made it over the pandemic. It was a little fun project to do, just to keep us busy.
I love that. That's awesome and cool. Yeah. I like that idea of get in touch, and yeah, we'll give you a little sneak peek, a little taste.
Tell him Scott and Regine sent you. Send him an email.
Trade email addresses for a little sneak peek at a movie.
There you go.
So far, so.
Very cool. So Crazy Little Monster Productions is the production company.
Correct. We named it after my dog. The dog's name is not actually Crazy Little Monster, but that was the nickname I had for her because she's a Jack Russell Terrier and likes to get into everything. So we've called her our Crazy Little Monster since we got her.
Oh, that's so cute.
Awesome. And links in the description, guys, for all of those things. Make sure you check out the movies. They're a lot of fun. Watch them at night in the dark.
No.
Okay, fine. Well, it's one way.
Don't send it to your friends to be like, here, watch this for tomorrow at 1 a.m.
You know what? Like I said earlier, I don't care when you watch them. I don't care how you watch them. I just am happy anybody's watching.
Just watch it. Yeah.
Check it out, people. All right, wonderful. Well, this was
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Regine, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube Mondays and Wednesdays for the pageant sit down. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at It's Regine Alaina. And if you'd like to follow my pageant journey, actually, Timothy, I will be in Chicago, hopefully, if the world opens up in August for the Galaxy International Pageants. So follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Ms. MS Galaxy Canada. Where can they find you, Scott?
You can find me right here, where you're watching this very video. YouTube.com/ScottDionBrown, Twitch.tv/ScottDionBrown, and DLive.tv/ScottDionBrown. I forgot to tell you, Amit, thank you for following. I saw you follow on DLive, but we were talking at the time. But thank you. Welcome. You can also follow me. Oh wait. There.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and Twitter at ScottDionBrown. Although I am starting to use Twitter less and less because I think it's destroying the world. I'm not sure. But I've been using it less and less.
It is.
Yeah, but you can find me on Instagram at ScottDionBrown. But YouTube is the best place. YouTube.com/ScottDionBrown. We have a lot of fun, lots of gaming streams Monday to Friday. We do the sit down every Sunday as we are right here. 2,000 subs, 12-hour stream. It's going to be great.
I'm just happy to be at over 100, and Scott's like, get me to 2,000. Get me to 2,000.
Hey, you know what? They're all little. It's all milestones, Regine. We're all just, you know. You
I just started.
you learn from your older work, and you look back, and you know, it's like. Well, I was just trying to go back to what Timothy was saying. You're building. You
That's
build.
good.
You build up. All right.
There you go.
Thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Timothy. I do want to say one thing before we end this show. For those in Canada or in Ontario, you may know of Hazel McCallion or Hurricane Hazel. She is the old mayor of Mississauga, so my hometown. She turned 100 years old today.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
Mr. Brown, I know it's your birthday, but it's also Hazel McCallion's 100th birthday, so happy birthday to all celebrating. Again, happy Valentine's Day.
Is she still the mayor now, or is she retired?
No, she retired.
Okay. But like she didn't retire that long. Yeah. So Hazel McCallion is like she was the mayor of Mississauga for a really long time. Mississauga is a city just west of Toronto. But I remember like she was the mayor like in her 90s, and I remember they would show footage of her like in her hockey skates and like playing hockey and stuff. Like she's this old woman, but she was so spry and like running around handling the puck. And now, yeah, so apparently she just turned 100, and
she's 100 and she can still run this. Like, I feel like people still see her as the mayor, and they go to the mayor as like the face of the city, but she still goes through Hazel McCallion.
How interesting. Well,
That's
anyway,
just how I see it.
happy birthday, Hazel McCallion.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's say good night or good afternoon. Well, some people might be watching at night. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. You could have gone to any website and you chose to come to this one to watch this video. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to my dad, or to my parents and my girlfriend, and happy birthday to my dad. Oh, Timothy, do you want to say happy Valentine's Day to anyone?
Just to everybody out there watching the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Hey.
There you go.
Wonderful.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow on Padge Sit Down, plugging it in as always.
That's right. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.